Smell us now, lady. Welcome to MeatEater Trivia.
MeatEater Podcast.
Welcome to MeatEater Radio Live. It's 11 a.m. Mountain Time. That's 8 p.m. for our friends in Lukko, Finland on Thursday, May 15th, and we are live from MeatEater HQ in Bozeman, Montana. I'm your host, Randall Williams, and I'm joined today by Tony Peterson and Lake Pickle. On today's show, we're talking dogs, the beloved species, aka man's best friend, as well as the food variety. Of course, I'm referring to hot dogs. Jeez. This is a good script. First, we'll interview dog trainer extraordinaire Jordan Horak, and then we'll play a little game we recoined, The Price is Right. We recoined that?
I don't think we recoined anything.
God,
I think we just
first.
stole that outright.
Followed by a highly requested return of the MeatEater Movie Club, where we'll be discussing the children's classic Where the Red Fern Grows. And after that, we'll talk with Professor Mani LegerMonti about ticks and tick prevention in our dogs. And finally, we will do a Throwback Thursday with some memories with some of our four-legged best friends. But first, Tony, Lake, great to have you fellas in the studio. What brings you to town this week?
You want me to go first?
Go first. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Dog Week. I mean, I have the Houndations podcast on Cal's feed, which is all about dogs. We've been writing dog articles and dropping them on the site. I have a new rooster film, if you like watching public land roosters get crunched by an adorable black lab.
Beautiful.
And me. You can check that out at the MeatEater site. But yeah, we are just celebrating dogs. We finally did an end around. I actually did the end around on Steve Ranella, who was a cat guy, big cat guy, and went right to the
Everybody's saying that.
Right, well, because it's true.
Yeah.
Yes. This is not a rumor I started. This is just known around the office. But I did an end around on Steve, went to our CEO, and I said, hey, man, everybody here loves dogs but Steve. Can we finally do something for the company instead of just catering to him? And he said, fine. And so now we have Dog Week, and we are going to be cranking out dog content from here on out. It's a new category at MeatEater.
Well done. Well done. And you know who else loves dogs? The people. The people love dogs.
Almost
the American
everyone.
People. Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Hot dogs and the furry kind.
Indeed.
Both of them. Yeah, so my reason for being up here is twofold. The first one is I'm working on a new podcast that'll go on the Bear Grease feed that I'm super excited about. Going to be called Backwoods University. And also, when we scheduled the time to come up here, I knew that May, it was still turkey season in Montana. I don't know how you feel about turkey hunting, Randall, but I love it a whole lot. So I hit up Max Barta, who's I've been buddies with for a while. I was like, hey, man, since I'm going to be up there. And so we snuck out Monday and managed to get a turkey. So it's been a great week.
Yeah, I asked Max Barta to take me turkey hunting. And now he's taken 2 out-of-town visitors turkey hunting successfully in the past 7 days. And I'm left wondering what Max really thinks of me, if there's anything there.
Max, if you're watching the show, go ahead and call in. We'll go ahead and we can talk to you live here.
Randall, I would just like to say that Max invited me to turkey hunt this week as well.
Are you serious?
He did.
100% serious.
I will say he did invite me to turkey hunt Monday afternoon, I believe, after you killed your bird. He said, do you still want to go turkey hunting? How about tomorrow? And I said, sure. And he said, the weather looks bad. We'll have to make a call on it. And then 2 hours later, he texted me and said the weather is too bad. We shouldn't go. So Max did make an effort,
right?
Although at that point, the forecast, it was, I don't know how wholehearted it was.
Right.
I got to go in his defense, seeing as like he was a huge part in me getting said turkey. When we were driving back and the weather was still pretty, he was like, I wonder if Randall will want to go tomorrow. I was like, ask him, because
well, breaking news, if you want to direct your attention to the screen.
I know. I would like to. Max kind of gets a bad rap.
For the audio listeners, Max chimed in the live chat. He says, hey, Randall, I was going to take you Tuesday, but it rained.
Yep.
All caps.
And I'm just having fun with you, Max. He did. I have every confidence that he will take me turkey hunting, and we will get a bird. 15 days left of the season. Not that anyone's counting. So, Yeah, well, it's wonderful to have you guys here. Both your first times on Radio Live.
I actually was a guest on Radio Live once. Call in.
That doesn't count.
So
Until you sit in this chair, you don't know what it feels like. Well, gentlemen, I think it's time we move on to our first interview of the day. Joining us is professional dog trainer and the owner of Cato Outdoors, Mr. Jordan Horak. Jordan, thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, I thought this was turning into a turkey episode here for a second.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
It sounded like it for like 3 minutes. So
yeah,
hey,
yeah. Well,
I'm pumped to be on
everybody's
here.
talking about turkeys, but we're here for dogs.
Yeah, good.
First off, what is the most important thing you can do with a puppy during the first week after you bring it home?
Yeah. All right. So here's the deal. Like dogs are weird because everybody wants to turn them into like a computer or something that's really absolute and say like, okay, there's one right way to train a dog or to treat that dog in the first week. And in my experience, like just like kids, like every dog is very different. So everyone's gonna need a little bit of a different approach, maybe. And there's gonna be people that have different ideas, and that's all great because this is really a subjective thing, training dogs. But in my opinion, when I bring a dog home, my natural urge is to start training it right away. Like I want it to be a great dog. So I want to teach it to sit and throw a bunch of retrieves and like start training it all these things. And in my experience, that's like the worst thing you can do because that dog is going through like a really big fear stage when you bring it to your house. Like you're a new person and, you know, they can't speak English. So nobody explained to that dog like, hey, you're going to this new person's house and they really love you. And like, they don't know any of those things. So you have to show them, I think, in that first week that like, hey, I'm somebody you want to hang out with. Like we're going to have good times, but requirements are really, really low right now. So I'm going to do a lot of giving that puppy treats out of my hand. I'm going to get down on the floor with it, play with it, maybe get it to play a little bit of tug with me. But I'm really just looking at building that relationship for the first week and really like the first few months. That's going to be the main focus. There's going to be a few things, of course, we're going to have to teach it right away. Like one of those would be, don't pee on the floor, go in the crate, be quiet in the crate. Don't bite me. Like you can't chew on my hands like puppies like to do. So of course we're going to work on those things. But my primary thing for the first even few weeks is, hey, let's just get to be buddies and like get ready for the long road. Cause this is a marathon. We got plenty of time to teach skills later on.
So Jordan, I know let's move past the first week here right now and just kind of building that trust and making that puppy comfortable. I know you're a big confidence guy, right? Like you like to challenge dogs and help them build confidence. So when you talk about, you know, dogs being individuals, which they are, you kind of got to cater a lot of your training style to that individual dog, the personality, drive, all that stuff. But there is sort of a ubiquitous across the board need for confidence in dogs. And I know that you take puppies, you know, from 8 weeks on, and that's like top of mind for you. Can you kind of give us like a 30,000 foot view on how you look at puppies and go, I want to start creating a confident dog?
Yeah. So a lot of people think that building a confident dog means like throwing it into all these weird situations. So they bring this new puppy home and they take it to the pet store and they take it to their friends and they take it to the dog park and all these places. And I don't think that makes a confident puppy because that's just a lot of confusion and a lot of uncontrolled environment. Bad things can happen. So I look at building confidence at actually like creating a predictable environment with a predictable outcome. So I'm not traveling them or taking them all over the place. I'm just trying to throw things at them at home. So one thing I did with a recent litter, and if your listeners want to go check it out, I think it's pretty cool. And it's like the only thing I've ever done that's gone viral on social media. So go watch it. But I created an obstacle course for a recent litter of Springer puppies that I did. And we started out just like with one obstacle within this course. They just had to go around one wall. And we put the food down at the end. And then we put the puppies down behind this wall. And all they had to do was go around it. And they were panicking. They were crying. They're trying to climb out the edge. Like they had no idea what to do. And like their confidence was kind of shattered. A lot of people, the tendency would be like, oh, look at the poor things. Like they need help. And, you know, they would go and intervene. And really, like, that intervention is not going to help them build confidence. So it was my kids and I were like doing the science experiment, basically, behavior science. We just stood there and watched them. And pretty soon, one of them like stuck its head around the wall, like, oh, look, I can kind of go this way. And all of a sudden, they all ran around the corner and they're eating food. The next time we did that, we dropped them in there, didn't say anything, put the food down, and all 9 of the puppies just ran around the corner. And then we progressively started to add more and more complex obstacles to that obstacle course. And it was really cool to see the puppies, like, their mindset changed from when they first went in there, where it was like, I don't know what to do, I just give up. By the end, they were like, I know what to do. Doesn't matter what you put in front of me, I'm going to go through it. And I think, like, the obstacle course was a really like vivid example of learning and overcoming a challenge. I think for a hunting dog, there's a lot of other things that come up in life. Like, for instance, a long retrieve, or going into really heavy cover, or getting into a boat, or even like hopping in a dog trailer. Like, there's lots of challenges or obstacles that they're going to encounter. I think starting really, really small with something that they can have an easy outcome with, like for us, it was just go around one wall. I think that's really important, rather than just throwing them into hard things right at the start, because really, like, for people and for animals, we gain confidence through success. We don't gain confidence through failure. So if we put them into something where they're going to fail and be overwhelmed, like that only like suppresses confidence. So I like to think of it as like, give them the challenge that's easily surmountable. Make sure that there's a reward at the end, right? Like, you can't just like throw them in the obstacle course and like, hey, like, figure this out, and when you get to the end, like, we'll do it again, or there's nothing there. Like, they have to have a motivation or a reason. With a puppy, that motivation often is going to be a treat. As they get older, that motivation might be the retrieve. So I can give a dog a really, really hard retrieve, and they've got to go out there and problem solve, and they've got to show courage and like go through this creek and over this berm and through these, chest high cattails and whatever. But they know that at the end, there's that reward of like finding the bird or finding the bumper. But it doesn't start there. Like, that's the end product. So starting really, really small, controlled environment, something that I know they're going to be successful in, with a very clear reward at the end.
Yeah, and you view this as, the confidence thing is huge, but you also look at this as like you're conditioning those dogs to be problem solvers, which we think about training, and we look at it and go, I want my dog to do this kind of retrieve perfectly every time because that's the behavior I want. But then you take that hunting dog out into the field and you're like, you have to solve a series of problems in every environment. We knock this rooster down here, that green head there. So you're actually teaching those puppies to problem solve at 8, 9, 10 weeks old.
Yeah. And I think I maybe like problem solving and confidence are two different things, but I think they're inseparable here as well. Like, if you have a really confident dog, it's going to go out and like figure out a way to do it, right? It's going to solve the problem. If you have a dog that's insecure and like doesn't want to do anything, like, yeah, it's going to fail. But yes, Tony, I think even like training could be like training a new thing could be a problem that they have to solve, right? Like sitting. We think of sitting as being really simple, but really, like, if I'm holding a treat and wanting that dog to do a behavior, like, technically they have a problem they have to solve. They want the treat. They don't know what that behavior is. So yeah, with an 8 or 9 week old puppy, like, they can start learning to solve the problem of like, hey, why are you just standing there looking at me with that treat? What do I have to do? The buck goes down, they get the treat. Oh, I think I might, have a solution to this problem. So as they learn to start offering behaviors and trying new things to solve problems, like, correct, those things get more and more complex as they get older, or the requirements or the ask.
For sure. Can we switch gears here quick? So you are, those puppies you were talking about, that litter that you built a little obstacle course for, those are springers. You are known for being an English cocker guy. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I've actually owned like 8 or 9 springers. I posted these videos of these springers, and everybody said, why did you get a springer? And like, I've had quite a few of them, but cockers, I won the Open Nationals in 2018. I won the Amateur Nationals, and then I won the Open Nationals. So, and then I won the Open with a dog named Cato. and then I started Cato Outdoors off right after that. So everybody think for sure I've owned more cockers and I've had success in trials with cockers. So that's why I guess I get associated with them. And I do love that breed, and I have way more cockers than I have springers at this point.
Yeah, but there had to be a reason why you went to them first, and then you just kind of glossed over this, but you went and won huge championships with them. What was it? What is it about them?
So I got done with school, and I was living in a little apartment with my wife, and I wanted another hunting dog because my childhood dog had died. And I'm a really impulsive person, if nothing else. So I read a magazine article, and somebody mentioned a Cocker Spaniel and that they were little and that you could pheasant hunt with them. And I think Google had like just come out. So I did a quick search and found a guy 2 hours away, and I drove up and got a puppy from him. And I always say, like, I got a cocker like for the small hunting dog, and I stayed with cockers because of the small hunting dog that also has a big personality. Like they're spaniels are like really, really typically people oriented, like almost to a fault. Like you can't go in the bathroom without the dog like sitting outside the door, like, hey, when are you going to come back out to play with me? So they're really, really sociable. Like they want to like make this connection with you. Like you'll see their face, like the ears kind of drop, and they're just like trying to like, hey, how do I crawl inside your brain and understand you? And I really like that about them. They're smart, really smart dog. And the small size is like, it's conducive to living in town or to traveling, and they can still do the things that a big dog can do.
Well, I'm a lab guy myself, but
I'm sorry.
The size thing occasionally does seem appealing.
Yeah.
Jordan, thanks so much for joining us today. Great to meet you. And when I get a new puppy here, maybe in the next year, maybe I'll give you a call.
Yeah, give me a call or stop by. I'd love to meet you in person.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, guys. Yep.
He knows a lot about dogs.
So I'll give you a quick anecdote here. Have you ever read All the Pretty Horses?
Oh, yeah.
Cormac McCarthy. Mm-hmm. So the lead guy there, John Grady Cole, he leans down and talks to horses. Mm-hmm. So he comments on this, or this is sort of a central theme throughout that book, where it's like you don't know what he's saying to the horse, mm-hmm. but he can break a horse better than anyone, and he's got a way with him, and he leans down and he says something, the conversation between him and the horse. I met Jordan 6 years ago at an event, and he would do that with his dogs. So they're performing in front of a whole bunch of people, and he leans down and he says something to them. And so I'm like, I've read about that behavior before. He's got a way with him, man.
Our vet, when we first met our new vet, when we moved to Livingston, he opened the door and got in and just got down on the floor and started crawling around with the dogs. And then he sort of realized what he was doing and said, "Oh, hey," and introduced himself to us. But I thought, actually, that's how I know you're real. Yep. Well, Phil, our next segment is The Price is Right, presented by our friends at Scheels.
Here it comes from Bozeman, Montana, MeatEater Radio's most exciting 10 minutes. It's The Price is Right! Tony Peterson, come on down! Lake Pickle, come on down! You're the next two contestants on MeatEater Radio's The Price is Right! Dog Week Edition presented by Scheels.
This game is really simple. Now, Phil's going to tell you about a product from the MeatEater universe, and you're going to need to guess its price. The player with the closest answer without going over will be declared the winner. And if both players go over, you'll both be told to try again. And the chat should play along as well, because whoever has the closest answer will get a shout-out from Phil the Engineer. All right, there are 3 products for today's show. Phil, tell us about the first item up for bid here.
I got to play the product music, Randall. It's very important.
Oh, yep.
Here it is. Let's start today's bidding with the Garmin Sport Pro Dog Training Bundle. Is your dog's selective hearing worse than Ryan Callahan's? Has your pup come to confuse the command "here" with "quick, run in the opposite direction"? Well, those days will soon be a distant memory with the help of the Garmin Sport Pro Dog Training Bundle, rated the #1 dog training collar of 2025 by our friends at Scheels. This puppy features 10 levels of static stimulation to match your dog's temperament, plus vibrate, tone, and a beacon light so you can keep track of your pup on those midnight potties that last a suspiciously long time. Plus, there's a built-in bark limiter, so the neighbors don't call animal control when you've got to work late editing podcast recordings that should have been sent to you 48 hours before. If nothing works and your dog still sucks after your best efforts, hang this remote around your neck with the included lanyard at the dog park, and at least you'll look like a guy who takes his canine training seriously. E-collar should only be used after properly educating yourself on safe and effective training methods. Side effects may include the unsettling realization that your dog could fully understand every command all along. Consult a professional dog trainer before use. Effectiveness may decrease if your dog is actually smarter than you are.
Wow, Phil. Wow, you are that's a hell of a side effects read.
Thank you.
I didn't realize the human voice was capable of that. I thought it was always done in after effects, but
I take practice.
I always thought they fast forwarded.
Oh
it.
no.
Yeah. But no, Phil, you just sound fast forwarded. So we've got the Garmin Sport Pro Dog Training Bundle. What are your guesses, gentlemen, here? It seems like a fine product. Again, rated the #1 dog training collar of 2025 by our friends at Scheels. And I will note these prices that we're reading here are from Scheels. You have your answers. Why don't we flip those boards over? Tony goes with 179.00 and Lake goes with 500.00. We've got a winner. The correct answer is $249.99. Tony, well done. Well done. You got one of those?
I do not.
It's a competitive price.
It is. It's a great price.
Phil, what do we got for our second item up for bid here today? And I apologize. These descriptions are much too long, I now realize, having listened to your first one.
I like them. It's fun to read them. How about a pet-safe automatic ball launcher? Is your throwing arm begging for mercy while your dog's still begging for one more toss? Does your furry friend have the aerobic endurance of Giannis Putelis, but the only thing you want to throw is throw back a few rum punches after, say, a long day of podcast recording with an eccentric opinionated individual who is hyper-fixated on a few specific activities that don't really align with their interests? Wow, this is hitting home, Randall. Problem solved! This ball-flinging miracle launches standard tennis balls up to 30 feet, perfect for the dog who has more energy than Snort on Pheasant Opener. With multiple distance settings, you can adjust from living room friendly to huck that sucker into the next zip code. And built-in motion sensors prevent balls from launching when your unsuspecting family members are in the line of fire. Your dog can even learn to reload it themselves, though success rates vary depending on whether your pet is a graduate of Dog EDU or, well, not. Get ready to reclaim your sofa time while your dog runs itself into a tennis ball-induced stupor.
Nicely done, Phil. Ooh, boy, that looks fancy. I wonder how much it could possibly cost. You guys have your answers ready? Let me flip them over here. Tony goes with $49.99 and Lake goes with $89.99. The correct answer is $209.99. Got a tie game here, fellas. Boy, you guys didn't have much confidence in the quality of that tennis ball launcher.
You don't see a lot of those in my world.
I was just trying to rein it in after I so widely overshot the first one.
Yeah, it's a good strategy.
And I bet people in the live chat are saying, but Randall, you're not asking about the commenters and if they're guessing correctly. But here's the thing. I have not had time to even look at the comments.
I know. I'm sorry, Phil. I really...
No, it's okay. Honestly, it's making my job easier.
The read is too taxing. The word count's too high.
You guys can feel good about yourselves in the live
The next
chat.
one's a little shorter, though. I will say, when I was preparing this yesterday, Sydney walked in and I showed her the tennis ball thrower and she said, "Oh, we should get that." And I said, "Guess how much it is?" She said, $209.99. And I said, I said it was $209.99. She said, "We shouldn't get that."
Right.
So had we been priced at like $89.99, I might be the owner of one. Anyway, on to our next item.
How about a 3-month supply of NexGuard Chewables for dogs weighing 60 to 121 pounds? It's NexGuard Chewable Tablets for dogs. Is your furry friend a hair-covered hideaway for blood-sucking freeloaders? You need NexGuard Red Box. These beef-flavored death traps don't mess around, don't negotiate, annihilate. Send those nasty bugs straight to hell. NexGuard Red Box will get the job done. No survivors. One tasty treat each month gives your sweet pooch 30 days of protection from ticks and fleas. And the Red Box 3-month supply means fewer trips to the vet. NexGuard, because the only things you should be sucking the life out of are your soul-crushing job, your suffocating mortgage, the bone-chilling cold of winter, and the existential dread that your entire existence is just a cosmic joke played by an indifferent universe. Not your dog's disgusting parasites!
Knocked it out of the park, Phil. Thank you for that.
Yeah, anytime.
So we've got a 3-month supply of NexGuard Chewables for dogs. And again, this is for dogs weighing 60 to 121 pounds. Tony, are you a NexGuard man?
Nope. And you probably figured that out pretty quickly here, buddy.
Lake, do you have dogs?
Oh, yeah. I got 2 of them.
What kinds?
Labs.
Oh, good. Well, why don't we flip those boards over, gang? Tony goes with $39.95, and Lake says $100. Lake, you're closest, but you went over. The correct answer is $90.89. So Tony's going to get away with a cheap victory here.
I don't feel good about it.
Yep, the low ball in Price is Right is really a coward's move.
I mean, I feel better than losing.
Yeah, sure.
None of us feel as good as Phil does.
Yeah, I think Phil won that little segment. Thanks for playing along,
Just a really
everybody.
good hot dog.
Yeah.
Thank you for those.
Thanks for playing along, everybody. And remember to help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed and neutered. It's oddly prescient for Bob Barker to do this, knowing that we would do this now on Radio Live during Dog Week.
He must have known.
Yep. Well, let's take a break for some listener feedback. Phil, what does the chat have to say?
Yeah, I apologize because I haven't been looking at the chat for a while. So please get your dog-related questions, or not dog-related, into the live chat now if you would like them answered by our crew. First comment comes from Brent Reeves. He says, little known fact, Lake Pickle can sing just like George Strait.
That's not true.
Oh.
I mean,
I think there's only one way to find out.
You look so good in love. Hit me.
you look so good in love.
Wow.
I preferred.
Lake.
It was on key.
That was
yeah,
great.
it was. I prefer Jamie Foxx's version, though.
It's probably better.
It is good.
Wokum says, I have a question about dog steadiness. My 2-year-old chocolate lab loves the sound of guns and is off the place so fast, even when I just raise the gun. How best to teach steadiness?
That's a Tony question, I think.
Well, there's kind of a lot to unpack there, but I would say you kind of have to back up and go, the gun should, this is sort of going to be a parallel to gunfire introduction, right? We started with clapping, we started like distant clapping, then you work in some 22s and that kind of stuff. If your dog recognizes that gun as an excuse to break, then you got to back up and work steadiness in a way where it's like, make him sit to wait to feed, make him sit on the retrieves, and get the basic foundational steadiness first. Because what this sounds like is maybe there were some false positives with the steadiness earlier, so we moved on, and now this dog associates that gun with the best thing possible, and you have to go back and go, do you have steadiness down, Pat, first, before that gun comes anywhere near it? So I would back way up on that before I brought a gun out again.
Lake, anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'd say that's not the worst problem to have. I would rather him be eager rather than the opposite of. But yeah, I mean, just echoing off of what Tony said, I mean, all of that's based off the foundation of discipline of a dog, like just the foundations of obedience to everything. So, I mean, I don't have anything on top of what Tony said, but tailor it back and just make sure that he's steady to everything else and then advance back forward.
Yeah, and this sounds, I don't know, I mean, I'm filling in the blanks here, but this sounds like waterfowl training to some extent. And if you think about, if you have a dog that's that keyed up when a gun comes up to jump or to break, now you have a real safety issue. Because you imagine those birds coming in, everybody's eyes to the sky, and that dog feels the same way. You bring that gun up, might flare your birds, but now you knock down a cripple in the water. You're like, oh, I'm gonna shoot it before we send the dog. That dog jumps out, and you know what I mean? It's just like, that's one of those things that's really tough because it's unnatural. Steadiness is unnatural for dogs, but it's a safety issue aside from just a manners and behavior issue.
The other thing is like, you never want to be the guy on a waterfowl hunt that has the dog that breaks. You want to get a hand.
I don't bring my dogs anywhere.
Right.
For that
probably,
reason.
yeah.
They're not trained at all. Phil, what else we got?
One Spencer Newharth asks, Tony, Lake, Randall, and Phil, you get to pick 3 hot dog toppings for the rest of your life. What are they?
Ketchup, mustard, relish.
Ketchup, mustard, onions.
Ketchup, mustard, cheese.
Jeez.
Cheese.
Mustard sauerkraut.
Is that a Mississippi thing?
That's
Cheese?
all I need.
Are we talking like real?
maybe.
Are we
I
talking
don't-
like frankfurters? Like, or are we talking just brats?
Well, how about you get specific, Randall? This is what the people are here for. It's dog week.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just stick to hot dogs, ketchup, mustard, relish.
Great. On that note, Heritage Tradition asks, have you guys ever had a Seattle dog, which is cream cheese and grilled
Yeah,
onions,
delicious.
which
Love it.
I love a lot.
I thought he was talking about a breed of dog.
Right.
Like, what's a Seattle dog?
No, it's a great hot dog. It's a great regional variation on a tried and true classic.
Hardway Alaska asks, my 4-year-old blue tick has separation and just high anxiety in general. Is there hope on breaking her from this, or is she just a house pet?
So separation anxiety is one of the biggest stressors in most modern dogs' life. Like, this is a real issue. I would say I don't know a lot about blue ticks, but I would say fundamentally the dogs that get the worst separation anxiety are not necessarily as confident dogs, and also haven't been not only exercised physically but mentally. So when you want to take the edge off a dog, we kind of gloss over the mental part, like the little problem-solving games, but you think about, kindergartners, right? Like, they learn, they have recess. They learn, they play. Dogs are kind of the same way. They need to run and get that physical exercise, but they need that mental stimulation. And that's not going to totally cure separation anxiety, because there could be other stuff to unpack there, but you can definitely sort of mitigate some of the worst effects of it.
Yeah, I have house pets, so again, nothing really to add to that.
Right.
What else we got, Phil?
Well, Pete has a very pressing question, and I'm sure you guys have an answer for him. It's morel season. Any tips on training my 13-month-old Vizsla how to find them for me?
Is that a thing?
You could absolutely do that, I bet.
You think so?
Just positive association, man. I promise you could probably train.
Okay,
train a dog
because
to
I
do that.
assumed it was a joke, and I read it like a joke. But if you think that it could be possible,
No, there's a lot of dogs that sniff mushrooms, right?
There are some.
Yeah,
but I mean,
shouldn't say a lot, but that's a thing.
I think I don't know this for sure, but I bet you could probably order up dried morel powder, which would have a lot of surface area for scent, and you could train year round. It's kind of like shed antler training. A shed antler itself doesn't have a lot of scent, but ground bone powder has a lot of scent. And so I bet you could do this better than you would probably think. But you have that really short window of morel season to actually have that dog go out and get that practical experience. So you'd have to figure out a way to train it off season. And that's how I would do it.
I like it. I've morel hunted with my dogs, but
Right.
none of us found them.
And then another one from Pete: how to encourage a water-shy dog to get more interested in swimming. Any general tips for that?
Water shyness is way more common than people think. And so in fact, the 4-year-old lab that I have, I had a hell of a time getting her into the water, and I didn't see that coming. Go out on hot days, get them really worked up, and then change your training location to someplace with water. Clear water's the best if you can get it. Nice, gentle slope, hard bottom, so there's no surprises. So that dog, if it's 95 degrees out there and you've been training, that dog gets into that water. It's going to go into the water to some level, but you don't want it to hit a ledge and fall off, get surprised. You don't want cold water. You don't want too much current. And so for my dog, I tried all that, and she wouldn't go in past her chest. So her tail end would be floating. And I ended up having to bring out a pheasant wing, take her to a new environment, and use a pond that right in the middle of it was just deep enough where she'd have to swim. So I had the highest reward she had ever encountered to that point in her life to retrieve, because she wanted that wing more than anything. And it was a new environment, so a mental reset. And then as soon as she did it and retrieved that wing, I never dealt with it again. And it was like a 3-month process for me.
I had a similar experience. So the dog I have now, no issues. The dog I had before him, he was scared to death of water, wouldn't touch it. And I had to, but he loved feathers. And so same thing. I had to build it up there. And he did, first time I put it in the water, he would stand just on the edge of the water and bark and whine until finally he just broke and went in there himself, and then problem solved.
Yeah, my dogs just swim. Don't have anything to add.
Great. We'll call that for the segment now, but we'll do this one more time at the end of the show.
Yeah, get those
please
questions in.
Get those questions in. I should have more time to read them this time.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, of
Thanks,
course.
Phil. It's a great listener feedback break.
It was.
We're on to MeatEater Movie Club. I'm already self-conscious about how long this is. God, I made a mistake. Wilson Rawls' Where the Red Fern Grows, adapted for screen in 1974, is a beloved coming-of-age story about a young boy named Billy Coleman and his 2 coon hounds in the Ozark Mountains of Oklahoma. It lives on as a beloved family classic that continues to resonate with viewers for its authentic portrayal of rural life, the earnest performances from its actors, and the emotional impact on the younger audiences. The plot of Where the Red Fern Grows is relatively simple. Boy wants dogs, boy gets dogs, dogs die prematurely. But this minimalist narrative structure functions as a devastatingly elegant meta-commentary. Like Sisyphus eternally pushing his boulder uphill only to watch it roll back down, Billy Coleman's tireless efforts to acquire his hounds, his meticulous training regimen, and his eventual hunting triumphs constitute an elaborate exercise in cosmic futility. The mathematical certainty with which the narrative arc concludes in the death of his short-lived companions mirrors the inescapable terminus of all biological existence, suggesting that the universe operates not as a moral economy where hard work yields proportional reward, but rather as a cruel charade that temporarily entertains our aspirations before mechanistically dismantling them. Now, please indulge me. I'm going to depart from a subject at hand, but this will all make sense. On September 15th, 1833, the English poet Arthur Henry Hallam suddenly dropped dead of a cerebral hemorrhage in the city of Vienna, Austria at the tragically young age of 22. Over the following 17 years, Hallam's former classmate at Cambridge, Alfred Lord Tennyson, paid tribute to his dear friend in a sprawling narrative poem titled In Memoriam AAH that wrestles with the inevitability of tragedy and loss. Perhaps most notably, the poem introduced Victorian audiences to the metaphor of nature red in tooth and claw, later adopted by the acolytes of Charles Darwin for its clear-eyed characterization of a world shaped by the cold calculus of death and survivorship. Where the Red Fern Grows serves as a cinematic literalization of Tennyson's meditative elegy. The correspondence between these works transcends mere thematic similarities. Both emerged from profound personal grief, Tennyson's for Hallam and Rawls from childhood memory of his own dogs. Both employ animal violence as a stand-in for universal suffering, and both ultimately question divine benevolence in a world of struggle and violence. Tennyson's vision of creation as an indifferent slaughterhouse, quote, so careful of the type she seems, so careless of the single life, finds its perfect juvenile counterpart in Billy Coleman's Ozark Woods. The profound difference, of course, is that Tennyson was writing for a sophisticated mid-century readership capable of appreciating 3,000 lines of dense poetry. Where the Red Fern Grows is curiously tailor-made for ambushing elementary school students with philosophical provocations. Were Billy Coleman's dogs merely a cruel diversion from the fundamental emptiness of human experience? Perhaps most insidious is the film's calculated subversion of Billy's crowning achievement, the hunting tournament victory, through his grandfather's bumbling ineptitude. This transforms Billy's moment of triumph into a hollow victory contaminated by chance and human error. The message crystallizes with brutal clarity. Even when one executes everything perfectly, random circumstance or the incompetence of others can instantly nullify one's achievements. The trophy Billy receives thus becomes not a symbol of genuine accomplishment, but rather a monument to the arbitrary nature of success and failure, a child's introduction to absurdity wrapped in golden metal. Most remarkable is the film's half-hearted gesture towards meaningful consolation. The red fern itself, supposedly planted by angels where extraordinary devotion exists, offers no genuine comfort. It is merely a botanical curiosity marking the patch of earth where Billy's beloved companions decompose. This supernatural element serves only to emphasize that even the divine cannot reverse the finality of death. Now, this reviewer is not prone to whining about the emotional underdevelopment of today's coddled youth. Discussions of generational decline and our society's refusal to teach children hard lessons are ripe fodder for old men with talk shows. But there is something refreshing. Where the word... Sorry, I rewrote this by hand. There is something refreshing about the film's bitter... Oh, excuse me. Sorry, this is just awful. There is something refreshing about the bitter existential truth serving as the film's core message. Attachments are temporary, Bodies fail, and nothing, not love, not courage, not even narrative filmmaking convention can prevent our individual and collective descent into oblivion. It seems as though children are meant to absorb this nihilistic parable as a heartwarming coming-of-age romp. The film endures as an unforgettable initiation ritual into the awareness of life's temporary nature, ensuring that generations of young viewers understand that emotional investment invariably leads to loss, and that the cycle continues with a frigid indifference to human sentiment until all of us join our beloved pets in the worm-filled soil.
Okay.
Now,
Dog week.
I didn't know what to make of this film, I'll be honest. I remember reading the book as a child, and I watched the film yesterday, and I was horrified and shocked by it. Tony, Lake, what are your thoughts here?
So we were given that, we were told we had to read that book when we were in second grade. Mm-hmm. And we read it as a class, and when it came to the point where the dogs died, the entire class, including the teachers, were like bawling in the classroom. Then we watched the movie, and as a second grader, you don't pick up on some of the things, right? Mm-hmm. And then she actually had a guy who was a coon hunter come into our second grade classroom with his blue tick hound.
So you could fully appreciate what had just died on the silver screen.
I think that's what they were getting at. Yeah, they want. But so rewatching the movie, having not seen it in second grade, you just pick up on some things. And I'll just go straight into it. I couldn't. The first scene of the movie, they touch on, they're like, Billy's family, his parents have this goal. They want to move to Tulsa and take over their uncle's feed store. So you're like, okay, that's a thing. You go through the whole thing. He gets his dogs. He trains them. They're great coon dogs. The dog, old Dan, gets killed. That's terrible. Mm-hmm. And then little Ann dies. And Billy is on the ground holding his dead dog, crying, that has just passed away seconds ago. And his mom and dad walk up, and they're like, you know, Billy, this kind of works out.
Now we can move to Tulsa.
Right.
And I watched that. I was like, sheesh.
I forgot about that in the opening when they talked to the Mr. Kyle, and he does mention that they want to move to Tulsa. Yeah, maybe this film is actually about the tragedy of, capital and labor having to follow, the market, and it's just it's a tragedy about how unrooted we are from our homes because of the system in which we live. Tony, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to piggyback here on what Lake just said. I mean, I caught that too. I watched this yesterday and finished it this morning. But also, I wondered when Billy tripped one of the brothers that fell on the hatchet.
Yeah.
I was like, is that involuntary manslaughter?
Yeah.
And, because it was they kind of glossed over the fact that
really
this kid
glossed
died
over,
in a fight over this white whale that he was chasing here. So when he's inconsolably sad and his beloved dogs have died, and his mom's like, well, I guess we're going to do the Tulsa thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Billy. I'm kind of like, well, Billy killed a kid like 2 weeks earlier, and you guys didn't even seem to care.
No, the next scene was they were eating dinner, and Grandpa really wanted him to enter into the coon hunting tournament.
Right. They moved on real quick from that.
It's a movie about two dogs dying, but a kid dies in the middle of it, and that just sort of glosses right over.
He's kind of a prick.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, whatever.
The grandpa's like, look, Billy, I know you killed that kid.
Yeah,
but
and his dad was a bad guy, too. His dad really drives a hard bargain.
Well, I mean, but I think that was the lesson there, right?
Yeah.
So the bad dad has bad kids.
Yep.
The good dad figures out a way to facilitate this coon dog situation with Billy, and it changes his life, and he becomes a man and moves to Tulsa.
And I keep hinging on like the parent thing. Before little Ann dies, there's a scene where it shows like little Ann's distraught and she's not doing very well, and she's on the floor, and Billy's trying to get her to eat, and the dad turns around at the dinner table. He's like looking at something. He pulls his glasses off. He goes, just looks like the life's gone out of her. Anyway, and then he just goes back to doing what he's doing. You're like, God,
like that young boy you were.
Or when he brings back old Dan and he's like working on him in the kitchen table, he just says something like, I've never seen wounds this bad before.
Needless to say, it did not hold up for what I remembered in second grade.
Yeah, I was also struck by how often I had to go back and rewatch a scene because the lighting was so bad that I couldn't tell what had happened.
Right.
I would like when they got to the funeral, I had to go back. I was like, what? did one of those kids die? Did Billy die? And then I went back and saw the hatchet thing again.
Yeah.
Same with the lion scene, happened very quickly.
Right.
What I want to know, how'd they film that? Like
The lion scene?
Yeah,
Oh.
and then like they didn't have CGI back then.
No,
like,
no.
I think they threw a mountain lion
Trained-
in with those two dogs
Yeah,
and let them fight.
trained lions. Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
It's the homeward bound thing.
I didn't think this movie really warranted a traditional discussion of what was realistic in it from an outdoorsman's perspective and what fell flat from an outdoorsman's perspective. Because I walked away from it and just thought, oh my God, there's a lot to say and there's also not a lot to say.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Sean says, why the hell do all the classic animal books end with death? Where the Red Fern Grows, Old Yeller, the Yearling, I'm forgetting a few, but can't we have a few creatures that live happily ever after? And like, it is true. If pets, dogs especially, I feel are used a lot as kind of like narrative. I don't want to say crutches because a lot of times the dogs are the point of the story. They drive the plot, but it's their death or our fear of losing them. That just, it's like a shortcut to the heartstrings. You know, I'm trying to think of like animals that just, like pets that are a part of a story, that are a main part of a story that end up living throughout the whole movie or the whole book.
It's literally called dead dog writing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a trope.
It's just shocking to me. The guy was like, I got an idea for a book. Dogs die. Here's the twist. He didn't have the dogs when the book began. And he had to get the dogs, but then the dogs die. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, but that's a story. I mean, that's been replayed. That's been repackaged a lot.
Yeah. It's like a modern day Romeo and Juliet. You know,
Is it?
died young. Yeah. I mean, that's another story. It just ends with people die.
Right.
I think there is something to be said for creative works that just end with untimely deaths, and then that's just the end.
Right.
You know.
I think a good use of a dog in media that kind of subverted the trope, but also fulfilled it, is that episode of Futurama. Have you seen that Futurama before? Have any of you? Oh, okay. Well, it's going to be a dull conversation, but the dog doesn't die, but his owner Fry gets trapped, cryogenically frozen, and travels through time. That's the whole idea of the show. But there's an episode that focuses on the dog he had before he was frozen. And then the episode ends with the dog just waiting outside the pizza place where he works at without knowing he was frozen, and it shows the seasons like time lapse. The dog gets older and older and older.
Oh God,
jeez,
it's incredibly moving.
I will say, just as my final thought, the most realistic aspect about this movie for me was that the hounds just turned barking into background noise.
Right.
Like I was sitting there at my desk and just every now and then I would register that dogs were barking, and I was like, oh, this is exactly what it's like to spend time around hound dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just roar, 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 roar. And then the one runs out of the house and just jumps on the logs for no reason. I was like, yep, that's the hound dog.
Yep.
So, any final thoughts? I think we're running a little overtime for our next guest here.
I wish I would have kept it in second grade.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, some things are best left
Right.
in the ground. On to our next guest. Our next guest is a wildlife parasitologist and the director of clinical parasitology at Cornell University, Dr. Mani LegerMonti. Mani, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So you are on to talk about ticks, and I think when it comes to dogs, we're thinking prevention. So what is the best flea or tick preventative on the market today? And is there anything that's a sure thing, 100% tick preventative measure we could take?
I think my first advice is like the local veterinary practitioners, they should be the best bet to formulate a plan for treatment or control of ticks. But I can just broadly comment on the drugs that are available on the market. They can be broadly classified into two, like one that repels the tick and the other one that actually kills the tick. The repellents, one good example is permethrin, as the name suggests, like, you apply onto the skin and then they kind of not allow the tick to attach to and take a blood meal, and that's what they do. But if the ticks are exposed prolonged to this drug, they can in fact kill the ticks. But the second category, which actually kills the tick, like there are a lot of drugs available. The early version of those drugs, like they're a bit messy. You need to apply onto the skin, And again, there are a lot of safety concerns. Say after applying it until it dry, like you can't allow other pets to access the dog that got this application, as well as kids. Like they are not allowed to touch because of those safety issues and limitation. The owners are not like actually complying with this drug administration, because in some areas where like the tick issue is the animal issue, like like it is year-long issue, like you need to periodically apply this, but because of this limitation, it's really hard for somebody to apply that. But the newer version, like they are really good, like so they are designed for a rapid kill of ticks, like and these drugs are available both as a topical application onto the skin, as well as like the drugs can also be given orally. So that's the good part of this drug, and this drug class is called isoxazoline. Sorry about the tough pronunciation of this, but again, these are very good drug. Like once taken orally or applied topically, and they can kill the tick within 2 to 8 hours, depending on which drugs you use. They are that effective, rapid kill. And some of the drugs in this class are also long acting, like they are effective for 12 weeks, and many other drugs are effective for 28 days. So then you could establish a periodicity of this application, and the owners can comply with. So I think like the new class of drug, which can be given oral, is the best bet that are in the market to control prevent tick infestation.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Second question you asked about like if it is 100%. I would say like the main issue here is owner's compliance. The lack of efficacy, that the perceived lack of efficacy is mainly due to lack of compliance with the way the drug need to be administered, following the label instruction, or following the guidance from the vet. Like if everything is followed perfect, like the drugs are highly effective. Any drugs that are available in the market, they are highly effective. But on the other hand, like I also want to say that no drug is 100% effective. Despite you follow all the protocol, label instruction, you still see some ticks hanging onto the body. So no drug is 100%.
So the big thing is following the manufacturer's directions rather than picking out a specific product on the market.
That's correct.
Gotcha. So the second thing that I think about when I think about ticks is Lyme's disease. And here in Montana, there's just in the news that we have our first known case of a deer tick with Lyme's disease in the state. Is this surprising to you? Or would you have expected this discovery sooner? I mean, what does the spread of Lyme's disease look like from the chair of an expert?
I read this news as well. So Lyme disease is very common here in New England. I'm from New York, so New England states, like it's very common, and in mid-Atlantic states, yes, it is there, and also upper Midwest is where like you would expect Lyme disease on the ticks that transmits this disease is more prevalent in there. But the fact is like geographic range expansion for this tick is happening, not just for this tick, for other ticks also across US, like geographic range expansion is happening. And in that sense, like it is not surprising. But I read the news, and it seems like they collected this tick from a hunting dog, and then identify what this tick, and also found Lyme in there. But it seems to me an introduction. It's an introduction even. I don't know if the tick is actually established in that. So when I say introduction, see, so there are a lot of factors that plays for a tick to get established in a particular geographic locality, like host species abundance. So in this case, the deer tick, if you have a white-tailed deer population which is exploding, yes, that's a place where like this tick can survive. And not just white-tailed deer, there are other hosts like rodents and even birds, migratory birds, all those. So, and again, the other things such as microhabitat that would help with establishment of this tick. So everything need to be lined up for the tick to establish. So if it is just a introductory event, like it happens with a lot of ticks in different places, the ticks get introduced. Say, for example, migratory birds, when they carry the nymphal stage of this tick, and they can drop the stick at far off places, but on that place where it is dropped off, like it need to establish, and a lot of factors plays role for getting this established up. So I can give one example here in New York, like in Long Island, which is the east of New York City. So 30 years ago, Lone Star tick, which is not the deer tick, the Lone Star tick was not known to occur in that space. But at the eastern end of that Long Island, like it was introduced 3 decades ago, and then that slowly spread, and now the entire Long Island is like full of Lone Star tick. That's because of the white-tailed deer population, which is like exploded in that region, as well as the wild turkey, which can host the stage of this tick. They are also reestablishing in that region. So all this played a major factor in allowing the Lone Star to establish in that area. So same could be true for a deer tick to establish in a place. Like it has to have all these factors in place.
So say you find a tick on yourself or your dog. What do you want to look for in terms of determining whether or not you should be worried? And then like what are some of the symptoms that would make you concerned if they develop after finding a tick on you or your dog as far as Lyme's disease go?
For Lyme disease, dogs, like they're not like humans. In humans, like if you're bitten by a tick, a deer tick, like it's easy to see that you react to it, and then you get the disease. And the bullseye lesion, which we all know can be caused by the introduction of the Lyme disease into a host, especially in humans. But the dogs, they are different. Like the disease are not like typical. Like the signs are not typical, and sometimes like the dog don't even suffer from the disease. They are asymptomatic. So it is really hard to say if the dog has like based on looking at like the dog has picked up the disease or not. But other what to say? So other signs such as like a fever and arthritis, all those things can occur. So I think like consulting a vet is the best bet to confirm if the Lyme disease is present or not by doing all additional ancillary testing.
Gotcha. And one final question for you. Other than Lyme disease, what are some other are there other tick-borne illnesses that dog owners should be worried about or aware of?
Not just the deer tick, like there are 3 other ticks that dogs can be infected with. In fact, like I would say 4 others. So the American dog tick, the Lone Star tick, and the brown dog tick. And the reason one is the Asian longhorn tick. So these all can affect dogs. And they come with their own pathogens to transmit. And I just want to comment about the Asian longhorn tick. So this tick was not here in the US, and it was detected in 2017 in New Jersey on a sheep. And this tick has a wide host preference, and they are seen in plenty in environment where this occurs. And as of now, as per the USDA study, like 21 states where like this tick has already been identified, but not on to Montana. Like I think like Kansas and Missouri is where like it has been documented so far. But they can affect dogs, and they can transmit what is it called, the Rocky Mountain spotted fever. So in Montana, like the Rocky Mountain wood tick, which is responsible for transmitting Rocky Mountain spotted fever to humans as well as in dogs. But we know like it occurs there. But if this new Asian longhorn tick, if they spread to this new geographical area, they can be of major concern. The reason is like Asian longhorn tick are not like other ticks. Like other ticks, they need for producing progenies. A female needs a male, but with Asian longhorn tick, like the females doesn't need a male. Like they can just produce progenies on their own. So if they hop onto your host, like they can have a blood meal, produce a lot of progenies, and then they can swarm onto the host. And in some places in Virginia, West Virginia, we have seen cases where like cattle are infected with this host, with this tick, and then they just drink blood and bleed the host to death. So that's one concern. But they can also transmit Rocky Mountain spotted fever. So in new location where this ticks emerge, and they can be of concern for transmitting Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Gotcha. Well, Dr. Lejeune, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing some of your expertise with our audience.
Yeah, thank you for hosting me. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Appreciate it. Now, our final segment this week is Throwback Thursday, Dog Edition.
Throwback on a Thursday morn, Stephen Brody, take me back to 1974. Throwback, I can't believe it. Did I mention Stephen Brody, our old as shit?
That's the kind of stuff we like to do around here to have fun.
Right?
Listen to Phil's jingles.
Pretty silly, huh?
It's fantastic.
Well, Throwback Thursday is where we each share a photo and share the tale that goes with our photos. Phil, who do you have up first for us?
I believe I have you first, but I can switch it up in
Oh,
any order.
no. Let's go with what you have. I don't want to cause any more trouble than I have already. Oh, so this is... I had a hard time picking some of my dog photos and trying to assemble a story out of them, so I thought Dolly had an interesting hunting season this year. People ask if I have a hunting dog, and I say no. But she does end up going hunting quite a bit. This is her as a puppy, being using an FHF bino harness as a puppy carrier, looking for some spring bears. And then over time, that was her first hunting trip. Over time, we tried to teach her about safety in the field. Next photo, please. We practiced our marksmanship together. Next photo, please. And we did some habitat work, giving back to the wildlife that we all love. Next photo, please. So Dolly joined us on a few hunts this fall. This is a deer that my wife Sydney shot, and you can see Dolly there on the right, and then Rosie, the good dog, on the left. Next photo. The day after that, we helped my buddy pack out an elk, and Dolly discovered her love for elk and elk hunting. Next photo, please. She carried the forelimb of that elk for about 1.5 miles. And then mysteriously dropped it once we got very near to the vehicle. And then I believe this is my last photo, then she accompanied us on a bison hunt, and she went apeshit on that bison, and just every little piece of trim that came off, Dolly ate it, and then she was very interested in the hide as well. So, that's just sort of a nonsensical, non-linear explanation of my hunting experience with my non-hunting dogs.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Lake, I've got your pictures up next. I wasn't sure the order you wanted them in, so
I don't think they're in any particular order.
Great.
I just picked 5. So that's my dog Knox.
That's a real hunting dog.
Yeah, he's one of those. Yep. That picture in particular is important because that is the first wild pheasant. We were in North Kansas. It's the first wild pheasant that he found him, flushed him, retrieved him all by himself, and I think I was prouder than he was. I was pretty pumped. That's a special one. That's his first duck hunt ever. He would have been like 6 months old at the time. And again, I think I was probably prouder than he was. Next photo, please, sir. I like this one in particular because I forgot the dog stand that morning. So if you notice, he's sitting on the bottom half of a climber stand, and that is a cutout square patch of carpet that I'm using so he doesn't fall through it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. Ingenuity. Oh, this one's my favorite. So that's my wife, Lacey, and that was her first duck she ever killed, big, pretty green head, and it was just icing on the cake. I mean, anyone knows me, like I love hunting with my dog. It's just and so being able to hunt with my wife, she shot that duck, and then Knox went and retrieved it. I was so happy. Is that? I think that's it. Is there any more?
That was a duplicate.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's the archives of Knox, my dog.
Good looking dog.
Yeah, he's fun. He's a lot of fun.
How old is he?
7. Just turned 7 last month.
All right, Tony, we've got a photo for you here.
So this is the only photo I put in because this story's going to take me a little while. So this dog's 12 now, but in this photo she was about a year. And for people who don't know, this dog's 12. I have 2 13-year-old daughters. So I got this puppy, when my daughters were 1, which was a lot. So my wife and I still fight about this, even though I'm right. My wife came home and left a bag of groceries on the counter. I come home later, and the groceries are on the floor. And there's some wrappers strewn around because she's a lab, right? We left her home with a lab, or lab was home alone. I start looking at it, and I go, man, this looks like a big box of raisins, and they're all gone. Oh. And so call my wife. I'm like, hey, did you? And she's like, yeah, I bought a pound of raisins, probably the only pound of raisins we've ever bought in our lives. Dog ate the whole thing. They're supposed to be toxic to dogs, so I'm freaking out. So I take her to the vet, and she spends all day at our regular vet, and the vet calls me and says, hey, you got to get this dog to an overnight vet to monitor it, keep the fluids going so its kidneys don't get messed up. So I'm wrangling 2 year-and-a-half-old kids and this dog, take her to the overnight vet, which is not cheap. And then the next morning they call me up, and I got to go get her, and they're like, I don't think any amount of raisins could kill this dog. But so I load up the girls. They're in their PJs. Walk in there, and Luna had never been away from us. So Luna was losing her shit. And I hear this dog going nuts in the background while I've got my 2 little girls who can stand and walk, but not real well. The vet tech comes around the corner like she's water skiing behind my dog, who heard my voice and has the cone of shame on. Luna runs out, and the first thing she does is run up to one of my daughters and send her flying. And my daughter hits the floor where the dog scale is on the floor with her face. And so my daughter's screaming and has blood coming out of her nose. My dog's losing her mind. And I have another child to wrangle who's just watching the whole spectacle. So we get my daughter's nose stopped up, go outside. I load up the girls in their car seats. Because I was kind of discombobulated, I didn't have the crate with, so I put Luna in the front seat. And I pull out into rush hour traffic, and I look over, and Luna makes eye contact with me and just starts pissing. Because she was so hydrated, and I have nowhere to go because I'm in rush hour traffic now. So this dog's like looking me in the eyes while I'm like looking down, and there's just this puddle spreading through. So anyway, raisins are probably toxic to some dogs, for sure. Not that one.
Man, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, we accidentally came home from the bar one night. And our first dog was there, and we're eating grapes, and we're throwing them up in the air and catching them. Then we started throwing them up in the air to Arlo. We looked at each other and go, wait a second, aren't grapes toxic for dogs? And we looked it up, and that's when we did the first, hydrogen peroxide, shake them up, and let them blast it all out on the back lawn trick. We had to do that a few times with Arlo. Yeah.
Oh, it worked. Yeah. So I tried that with Luna, and she just sat there drinking that up. She's like, give me more hydrogen peroxide. Oh. Like it didn't work.
No, we've used it a couple times. That dog Arlo had a very similar deal. We made a bunch of soup. Like we made soup and stew and stuff all day and froze it all. And so the trash had like 10 different pound like plastic wrappers from burger and all the meat and stuff, and then 2 Costco chicken carcasses in there. So I took Dolly to the vet because she was like 6 months old, and I got back and the trash is everywhere. I'm like, where are all the meat wrappers? Where are the chicken carcasses? And we go to the vet, and the vet's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's either going to come out or it's not.
Cross your fingers and pay attention.
Do you guys know if that's a breed thing or a size thing? Like, why does stuff like, because I hear the same thing about like garlic and obviously chocolate and stuff like that, where some dogs can have no problem with it, but others don't.
It definitely is a toxicity thing that way.
Yeah, because I will say we always hear like grapes, like don't touch grapes with a dog and it's bad. But most of the stories I've heard are like yours, where it's like just turns out to be okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you and your daughters and your dog were none the worse for wear after all that. Although the seat of your truck sounds like it got the worst of it.
It did. It was very. It was easier pee to clean up than it could have been because she was so hydrated, which was part of the problem.
Yeah.
It was more the fact that it was like a 30-hour ordeal that cost me like $1,000.
Yeah.
For nothing other than my wife making that huge mistake and putting my dog in danger.
Yeah.
I would like to say.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad that it all turned out all right.
It did.
That brings us to the end of the show, folks. Phil, do we have any final listener feedback?
Yeah, I thought I'd go back to some interesting comments we got during the movie club. We have Peter. He says, wow, Randall needs a hug and Jesus. Bradley says he might cry in pity for Randall right now. Brian Lammers says, what just happened? MD Outdoors says, JFC Randall. Josh says, tune into MeatEater today for your existential crisis. And Ryan says, hand on face emoji. And then Killigan says, my dog stopped wanting treats, even the highest, stinkiest reward treats, and does not care about praise while training. Do you have suggestions? Thank you, gents.
Want me to take that one?
Never run into that issue before. He doesn't like anything?
I would ask, well, what kind of dog? Right? Does it like to retrieve?
Yeah.
Does it have a special object where it's like, that toy is my toy? Like, you have to find something it cares about.
Yeah. Yeah, and if your dog doesn't care about anything, truly anything,
yep,
they should seek professional help.
Because I can think of some instances where the dog not wanting treats might not be a bad thing, you know?
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword.
Right.
Nick asks, why are there still hot dogs left?
It's a fair point.
There won't be in about 5 minutes when we're done with this.
Nick, the hot dogs came in here about 15 minutes before the show. I ate 3 of them before the show and started on my 4th at the beginning, and then I felt sick. So I'm just going to be very forthright with the audience. I felt sick from eating too many hot dogs. Next question, Phil.
You know, Brody had this problem a few weeks. Spencer was in the chat and fielding questions and just throwing off the whole cadence of the listener feedback portion. He's been doing that again this whole hour. He's been answering questions for people in the chat, and so we don't have a lot of questions to pull from. So if you guys have some, this is your last chance. You got about 30 seconds
get
here.
Those questions
Randall
in.
will have another hot dog while you get those questions in.
I've still got this nubbins left. It's cold. Any more questions? 1, 2, 3. We're running out of dog week here, gang. That's a weird way to end the show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed. Tony, Lake, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next week on MeatEater Radio Live. Same place, same time. Bye.